Hey guys, Lex here, back for some more of the Great Ace Attorney. Looks like Judge Shikoku's the killer this time. So yeah, let's continue with the trial. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Is the outhouse here, part? Damn it. These Japanese are a curious breed. Oh man. You had to notice I'm not the only Japanese around here. You even have a mirror. Oh, jeez. Great start to the episode, guys. Was the victim killed in the room on Fresno Street, or was he moved here after his death? There's one piece of evidence we have that shows the answer. Perhaps you should try to present the correct one this time. That doesn't help. Here you go, Andy, try again. Can't you hold your hand steady to point it out? The prosecution claims that Inspector Chris died instantly. He died instantly. Wait a minute. His hands look different, like they're cold already. I don't know. Oh, but that's after they took the picture, so, Wait, this isn't even the right truck. It's Greg's truck. Oh man, I've been thinking it was Jacob's truck. Oh, no wonder. Maybe there's something in this picture. Yeah.
Take that!
Wait, that was it? A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he was killed. Yes, but the point is, the posture of the body itself. Huh? Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room. It's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. Oh! Sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could have easily adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Objection!
Wait, it was instant though. Sorry to disappoint you, Judge Shikoku, but it's your logic that is flawed. What? According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less been able to draw himself into that position. Ah. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Oh. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting the inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival in Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor in the inside of a large travel trunk. No, you're quite right. The shape of the body looks exactly as if it had been kept in a confined space. Judge Shikoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Present my trunk. I refuse. What? On what grounds? I threw it away. I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. Shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations. In other words, Judge Shikoku, there is blood in your trunk. It was my blood. I declined to answer that. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to. At this moment, you're not a government minister. You're a witness in the trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Order in the court. Well, Mr. Shikoku, what's it to be? can't be serious. You did it? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Sogi? What? Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You? Dear God, outrageous. So it was you. You admit to Inspector Griffin's murder. No, I admit nothing more than what I've said. Huh? Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? Merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, decided my only option was to bring it to Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. You can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. Oh. That's right. Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Sogi. Ah. You. Oh shit. Everyone's just iPad over here. I never thought you'd stoop to this, Shirajukoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Sogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin, you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't. So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now. That's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Sogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer is right in front of me. It comes down to Jukoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. Now we're just a step away from proving who. Very well, the defendant is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Shikoku. The idea of the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Sogi is, oh shit, does it matter? Can I pick both? I'll do possible. Well, it is possible, my lord. What? How could you? Do you think I want to believe it? But the fact is, I can't say with complete certainty what actually happened because I wasn't there. You disappoint me, Ryunoske. If I may, Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps that's why we form opinions based on evidence. Ah, so true. And actually, we have evidence that can settle this argument conclusively. My lord, the defense would like to present evidence. Before you plow feigning ignorance of what just occurred. Damn it. Oh man, I thought it would just be like, oh no, you don't have evidence. Damn it. I really thought I could have just pressed fast and quick enough. Never mind the penalty of your head, the truth is all that matters. Judge Shikoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. That logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Sogi to commit the crime. What? Huh? The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Sogi's involvement? Something to do with the guard? I don't know, maybe.
Take that!
This itinerary for the crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is inconclusive proof. An itinerary. How does that prove anything? Judge Chikogu, the moment you acknowledged that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this is the itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. That tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. That narrows down to 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated in the itinerary. Yeah, and Kazuma wasn't there, apparently. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already been put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Oh, and Kazuma wasn't there. Okay, my reasoning was wrong, but I got the correct. Now clearly, the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. But Prosecutor Sogi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in town and returned to England the following morning. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof. Kazuma Sogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Yeah. And this would be a lot easier if I played the doll at once. No, absolutely not. I did not accept that at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself elsewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for the chance to come back. No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify, and undeniable proof. No, why? There's no escape this time. You can forget you're the judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jikoku? It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Oh shit. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. No, listen to the vibration. Ah! Holy shit, he's so strong. Holy shit, he's going Super Saiyan. It's over, my life is over. British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. The Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. You find yourself unable to dispatch a replacement, because I was already on my way to Britain at that time, in Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. to eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume? That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain, so I enlisted the help of my British counterpart, and made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham admission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah. So, that means that the assassination exchange was all planned by the Reaper? Not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time waiting. So the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock, I intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move. Oh shit. I'd received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that. So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside our cabin on the SS Grouse. Which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room of Fresno Street. The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take a body up on the deck to throw it over and decide. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation trickle. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Brixton's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. I decided that the man would be a perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. It must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself if that I would have done otherwise.
The hairpiece survived the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation.
I only arrived at the room at around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later, so that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except, at the last moment, I had made a careless blunder. And what was that?
I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
Huh? I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body into the refrigeration room. I put it back in his pocket the following morning, but, well, seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. We still have more questions, so I'm guessing the game doesn't end here. I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such vile nature, you could expect the most severe penalty.
An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea.
Mr. Jikoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange?
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for.
Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Enough! I've already told you, but I cannot say.
What?
Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? Is he gonna get assassinated? It's finished, all of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson.
Wait, Van Zieks is guilty?
Shishiru Chikoku, it is in the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court.
That's it?
Moments ago, Mr. Chikoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Oh, wonderful. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, thank you.
Something wrong?
There's too many loose ends. I'm just a little troubled by his silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor, as you wish. Now for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Barak Van Zieks.
Objection!
No!
I mean, yes, so we can continue the game. The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel. The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position.
What? But Judge Chikoku has already confessed.
Nevertheless, Barak Van Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Shishiru Chikoku, but it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot, into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, who coerced Chikoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in the position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barak van Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? Order. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case?
Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard. They found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper.
Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jikoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify differently the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say, I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. I'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. Yay. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare the court to be in session for a supplementary hearing. Oh. Pray to a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice. Lord Van Zieks, I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I've endured the weight of the implied guilt that's gone with it. So, I welcome the chance to testify now, and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zieks. Prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusations brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense?
Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
You're right that he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this. Came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer and his friend.
Then that's what we must do!
The defense has no objection, my lord. Very well, defendant. You will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. As you wish, my lord. With this testimony, the Reaper and assassin exchange. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Grigson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Grigson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange. So you deny all accusations by the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey, and that you masterminded this assassin exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believes me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in a position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes that the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Ryunoske Naruhodo. Yeah? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? It's my job. A desire to uncover the truth? Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty? Yes. From all my experiences in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in the pursuit of truth. I want you to remember what you just said. What did you say? Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction you're convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. Cross-examination. The Reaper and the Assassin exchange.
Hold it!
So you're not what the general public refer to as the infamous Reaper of the Bailey? Exactly. Don't imagine for a moment the court will be satisfied with one-word answer on this. I realize that. If you're intending to comment on every sentence, this could take a while, Kazuma. Don't you find it disturbing, though, that one by one, defendants who'd been acquitted after your unsuccessful prosecution were killed? Let me answer that question by posing another. If one by one defendants who had been acquitted after your successful defense were killed, would you find that disturbing? Disturbing? I couldn't possibly say how that would make me feel with a one-word answer like that. Exactly. Well, that told me. But even though I'm not the Reaper, that doesn't mean I ignored all the hearsay.
Hold it!
You say for years. How long exactly? Since the very first time the Reaper's influence was felt in this courtroom. 10 years ago now. And your investigations led you somehow to Inspector Gregson, you're saying? I didn't want to believe it. He was a personal acquaintance. We'd worked on cases together in the past. A friend, even? It felt like betrayal, but I demanded permission to search his office at the yard without his knowledge. Which is when you found the secret notebook, is it? It was when I first learned of the location he'd noted only as grouse, and the appointment at 5 p.m. on the 31st. Though I didn't know the significance of those details at the time. So now we're at the nub of the matter.
Hold it!
But why did you go to that specific location? I thought that if it was the Reaper's headquarters, then by turning up there at 5 o'clock, I would catch whoever was involved red-handed. Sadly, all that was awaiting me was the inspector's corpse. Yes, even though it wasn't designed for you, you walked straight into the trap set by Chikoku. Exactly. Chikoku had intended to implicate Hubun, but unhappily for me, I arrived at the scene first. Ha, a ridiculously careless blunder. Nerd. Moved on to just throwing insults around, I see then, Kazuma. Think what you will. It doesn't change the truth. There is a link between you and Gregson, though. Of course, we were close acquaintances. We'd work on numerous cases together. I considered the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons. He did? Such as what? Always eat fish and chips. Where to buy good fish and chips, and such like. Well, that was convincing. Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course, but that was some time in the past. In any case, I understand it was several years ago, now, that he was invited to work in the Japanese university. That's right, he was a visiting professor at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo. It's unambiguously clear then that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I had no motive for sending some assassin across the oceans to kill the man. Sounds plausible enough, I want to believe it. But something about that just doesn't quite sit right with me. Clearly before, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind this assassination. Oh wait. Certainly as it stands, there's no evidence to suggest that you concocted a scheme.
Objection!
But as it stands, we only have the accused's insistence of his innocence. Sorry? Perhaps there's some reason that would explain why he masterminded the assassin exchange. And if a reason could be established later in these proceedings, then the accused's claim in this testimony that he wasn't involved would amount to perjury. Well, yes, that's true, but...
Clearly Kazuma-sama intends to identify a reason and use it to make his case.
So if we don't identify something first,
He'll gain the advantage.
this could be dangerous. Convincing testimony by Lord Van Zieks.
Certainly, with no apparent connection between the three men, there's no way to establish a motive. The testimony seems unassailable as far as I can see. Oh dear me, what a bleak expression.
I agree there doesn't appear to be any particular link between them at first glance. But with the inclusion of one other person... I must be overthinking it, surely.
Another person, Mr. Naruhodo.
Tend to think back over all the information we've gleaned so far.
Alright, and I'll review my notes about the case and all the evidence in the court record.
Could it be that Lord Van Zieks has something to hide after all? Okay, and then go right here. Is it the picture? That's not the picture. Oh, it's a different picture. Okay. Was it this one? Van Zieks, John H. Wilson. Yeah, it should be this. Yeah, it should be this autopsy report.
Objection!
What is this? An autopsy report? Wait, is this 10 years old? From the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zieks. What? My brother's autopsy report? I'm pleased to see. The defense doesn't intend to run from this undeniable truth. Order in the court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report, counsel? This, the autopsy report of the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant. Not that cursed name again, the professor. I've personally researched all the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zieks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson declared that he was certain that he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure.
It was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Osogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes, and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zieks here to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court. Good days. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What? Could the same be said if it turned out the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death? That's outrageous. And now, 10 years later, for some reason, the secret has been threatened and needs protecting. Which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and Britain, using the two killers recruited for this assassin exchange. Oh. Order at once. 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer, to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself I'd prove it. Which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost. You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in a courtroom has failed as a lawyer. Come on, Kazuma, you know this won't wash. You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago? You must see that without evidence, that's nothing more than a wild accusation. As it happens, I have evidence. What? As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Shishiro Chikoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth? The truth about the evidence, and he acknowledged what he had already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret. While we waited for my supposed mark in Chikoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword, Karuma, before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was. Right, I see. You're that Soki's young lad, are you? And what, you're gonna cut me down with that thing? Is that it? That will very much depend on the answer you give me to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth, that's all. Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately, back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So, you admitted then, the evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated. It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following notice. Orders. What exactly do you do? Speak. I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it. That's right, even then. So that's when the tip of the sword broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
The results of Clint Van Zieks' autopsy were fabricated. Then the investigating officer Gregson and the lead coroner Wilson must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barak Van Zieks. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly, as was established earlier. It has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with Shikoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Barak von Zieks. Oh shit.
Objection!
Kazuma Sogi. What? What you've just told the court. Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. It's a shameful admission. In that case, I know. The name of the Reaper. What? What? Lord Van Zieks. I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. Oh, is it the judge? Lord Van Zieks isn't the one behind all this. Then yes, there's only one other person who could have done something like that. Is it Wilson? I believe I know who it is too. You? I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... I want to see the evidence. Oh god. It's male Strongheart.
Take that!
The only person who could have arranged the assassination exchange and manipulated autopsy reports is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Male Strongheart. What? Lord Strongheart. Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court. But he only took over the case after his brother Lord Clint Van Zieks had been killed. Oh. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zieks, 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession. But I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you. I spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle a trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Shishiro Chikoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey. The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. Wait, what? I didn't do that yet. It doesn't warrant a response. Huh? A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? I'll defend you. You claim there is some wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Zieks' autopsy. That's utterly untrue.
Objection!
But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it, and he's dead. And where's your evidence? What? Gregson's dead now, unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand.
We could do it. We have the technology.
You mean... forget how the systems works in your little backwater country. But in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence there is no case. Oh, I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Order in the court. Following Inspector Grigson's murder and in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? So that was the real purpose of the assassination exchange. This court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. Oh man, this animation. Just like the old days. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections. Kazuma has more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we could do now? Is there no other avenue we could go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Zeek's autopsy. There's no one left. Wait, how many points do I have? I don't want to risk it. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks. Even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Scythe won't say anything against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope.
Objection!
Oh, the little girl? Actually, there is one person. One person who will still testify about the autopsy. Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left. Who, Ryunoske? Who? Tell me. Kazuma, I. Please, this trial can't end. Not yet. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify the autopsy of Lord Van Zeeks is Corey. Denied. What? I want to know why. All I want to know is why you're proposing to call such a witness to look after us. In other words, you're right up the mark. Damn it. Okay. Man. Good thing I have a point left and I didn't mess it up. There's somebody else pressing it up. Okay, it was okay. It was you should have used Yuji.
Take that!
Damn it. Heaven help us, another Japanese. An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Eugene Mikatobi 16 years ago. He came to London with Shiro Jikoku and Genshin Isogi as a visiting student. What could his testimony possibly tell us?
Professor Mikatobi was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report.
Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature.
It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it.
In other words, Professor Mikatobi witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikatobi be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. The defense's demand is denied.
What? But Professor Mikatobi is in London at this very moment. We could summon him in the stand in minutes.
No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. Bring the old judge back in. It'll be easier to voice. Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, so you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for the claims and make your case complete. At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence. That's exactly why we need witness testimony. The professor case is closed. There is no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Sogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached its conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by the Japanese Supreme Court Judge Sashiro Chikoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection!
But we all know what will happen. I'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to cover his tracks again. By which you mean me. Oh yeah! Your punishment for the contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust you, since you gave your word. This futile game of revenge is over. Young Master Asogi. There. That's it? Okay. That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. The court is... Hold it. Yay, Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the courtroom at once.
Objection!
Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Sashiro Chikoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say. Lord Mail of Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer the question, if I may. I will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, that has already been uncovered. It seems that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? If not along the prevarications of your superiors?
Yeah, we came here for a show.
Order in the court. It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices, a door that is ajar. Let us reemerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push the door open now. The auditors on the galley have no rights to express their opinion on the court proceedings. Silence!
He's right. The judge has absolute authority here.
Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end.
But what will it really do?
I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed.
Is there a single person here present who can honestly say he doesn't sense the same?
What?
The trial should go on. Summon the witness. This right. We need to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is remanded to custody. Lord, you shall assure the present that you will recover the whole truth here.
Vindicate yourself in this accusation.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law.
A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery.
On with the trial. On with the trial. Testify. Testify.
Well, my lord. You hear the voice of the British Justice, I take it. I think you'll find it be rather awkward silence. court will recess briefly. Ah, I need a break. I have no intention of shirking from these allegations. Huh? Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives in the courthouse, we shall reconvene. A recess won't be necessary, my lord. Yes, it will! Pardon. Mactoba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Mactoba is here in the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is at better position to answer that question than you, Shelley. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know. Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you. Absolutely. Still in my pocket. Send her regards, and a reminder. Find yourself at a dinner. The ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course. In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. So, it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is the trial going to take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. And to be continued? Come on? So I can take a break? Yes! Alright, we'll continue the trial next time. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye!